This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Tom, as always, good morning. Thanks for joining us on a Tuesday. I do want to talk about KJ Jefferson coming up in just a bit, but your initial thoughts. I thought you had a really good column following the Alabama. What was the title of Tom's column? Chuck said it yesterday. It's like dynasties are hard to kill, something of that nature. Just kind of your initial thoughts on the Alabama loss this weekend, Tom.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Well, I think the lead was dynasties don't die easy, and I guess it was a reference to the fact that, you know, Arkansas had all this momentum from the big comeback, and, you know, it was 28-23, and you felt like, wow, you know, they've got a chance here. And I do wish that the officials had seen the blatant hands to the face, because it would have been a half the distance, would have created a 3rd and 25. It was on the Jalen Milroe 77-yard run. And if they don't convert that and Arkansas gets the ball back, who knows how the rest of that game goes. But anyway, look, we all knew this was going to be a brutal 5-game stretch. They're 2 games into it, 40% in, and they're 0-2. Should be 1-1, but they're 0-2. And, you know, they've got the injury issues, you know, that with KJ and his secondary. So they're going to really have to dig deep to come up with a game plan to slow Mississippi State. And then, you know, it's still tough at BYU, open date at Auburn. That's just a brutal 5-game stretch as probably anybody in the country plays this year.
Yeah. Tommy, we were analyzing the numbers earlier. Arkansas gave up 225 yards on 3 plays with that run you mentioned with Milroe, 2 from Gibbs. That's 70% of the rushing yards from Bama. It was 40% of the total offense of 555 yards. I know this seems like a repeat question, but how do you stop those big gashing plays that really gutted Arkansas's efforts to complete the comeback?
Yeah, those are tough. I mean, Arkansas had really kind of sealed Gibbs up through 3 quarters. At that stage, when the 4th quarter opened, the rushing was like 90 yards or 80 yards difference. I think Arkansas had, I wrote about it today. Arkansas had maybe 155 and Alabama had about 65, something like that. And then, you know, then they went off, the Milroe play and then the 2 Gibbs. I can't tell you who didn't fit their gap, but clearly the 2nd and the 3rd levels, you know, they didn't have guys that had good angles. However Alabama schemed it up or however their wide receivers blocked, there weren't safeties, you know, right there to clean things up. And, you know, that's where it hurts not having Cattle on. And honestly, you know, you could tell Brini has been slowed. Slusher was slowed in that game. They were just dinged up. And even though that was a pretty deep position to open the season, it's kind of being exposed now. And they got to keep recruiting speed back there. And, you know, maybe guys like Anthony Brown and Jalen Lewis can come on and in the coming years and provide that speed and knowledge. But that was the biggest impact of the game with those 3 run plays that it turned everything around. I mean, it separated in the game and Alabama just kept pushing on the ground until they finally broke through.
It seemed like consistently they'd get the line moving left or moving right, and then the back would consistently find a cutback lane and find that first down. I mean, those 3 big runs, it wasn't missed tackles, it was just no tackles. I mean, just didn't hardly get a hand on Gibbs those 2 times. So it just seemed like there was always a misdirection or redirected crease that those backs could find.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's part of the scheme. If you block it up right, you know, then apparently, you know, if you block it up right, then you've got a back that maybe has to get by 1 safety or get by the nickel or something like that. And with Gibbs' speed, you know, really they contained Gibbs' speed for the better part of 3 quarters. And then in 1 quarter, he had the cutback lanes and just the free access into the 2nd and 3rd levels, and his speed made them pay.
Talking with Tom Murphy this morning. Tom, Mississippi State doesn't have the best rushing stats this year, but they did run the ball better against A&M. What do you think Mike Leach is going to be able to learn from what Alabama was able to do in that 4th quarter?
Well, I mean, they have to do it within their own schemes, obviously, but Arkansas's depleted secondary is, you know, it's out there. It's on tape. And that plays right into Mississippi State's hands in terms of running their backs out on the edges, running stuff underneath, and throwing to everybody everywhere. They'll throw deep too. I mean, when they had to do the big comeback late last year, they got some deep throws on too. So Arkansas, as Sam Pittman put it, close the air down. Get closer to the ball catcher to get them on the ground. I like Dylan Johnson and Jaquavius Mark. I think those are both two really good backs. And I think Mark's hurt them some last year, and the kid Jaden Whaley hurt him, but he's way down in their receptions this year. So the depth of their receiving core is phenomenal. Will Rogers is completely comfortable in that scheme, completing 70-something% of his passes. This is a super, super dangerous offensive opponent for Arkansas.
Arkansas is 2-0 against Mike Leach under Sam Pittman. I know that Will Rogers would love to get back at them for how the game ended up last season. What kind of atmosphere is Arkansas walking into to Starkville at 11 o'clock?
Well, the cowbells, which, they're illegal in the SEC. They're artificial noisemakers, and so they're not supposed to be used. But they give an exception to Mississippi State for some reason. And I know you can argue that, the fans are observant to the rules, they stop ringing. But, honestly, it impedes your communication between plays and all that kind of stuff. And I wish the SEC would crack down and allow no artificial noisemakers in the stadiums. It's going to be a tough atmosphere. Mississippi State's feeling it. In the West, it's unrelenting. Arkansas still has to play State and Ole Miss and Auburn and LSU, and it's brutal. And we all knew this was going to be a very, very tough schedule. This was a game, I think, that was a swing game from the word go. I think circumstances have now proved that Mississippi State has an edge, being at home, being with Arkansas's injuries. And so it's going to be tough. They use the double cloud coverage to great purposes against KJ Costello in the game 2 years ago. And quite frankly, Mike Leach got a little bit greedy in the fourth quarter when they had chances to kick a field goal, and they didn't do it. They went on fourth down, and Arkansas stopped them both times. Then last year, they got it going a little bit better. And so right now, I would say Mike Leach has a pretty good feel for how to attack the drop 8 coverage. Arkansas is going to use that some, but they also have to do some man, and that's where they've been struggling to keep guys, on a leash, so to speak, in man coverage. And so you can bet Mississippi State's arsenal is going to include how to attack both.
Mississippi State off to the 4-1 start, their best since 2000 when they were 4-1, ended up 8-4 that year. Getting to 5-1 for State this week would be the first time they've done that since '98 when they went on to the SEC championship game. How impressed should we be with the teams that Mississippi State has beaten? What's your real evaluation where State's at after 5 games, considering the opponents?
Yeah, and I didn't realize that stat about first time 5-1 since '98 if they win. So
yeah,
this is kind of the Mike Leach MO. He gets in somewhere, he kind of gets his culture going, and 2 or 3 years in, they start winning on a really consistent level. I think they have every right to believe that they're right there, pushing for next tier like Arkansas did last year, next tier behind Alabama. The road loss at LSU, I haven't seen it in detail to know what LSU did to slow them down. Obviously tackled well and all that kind of stuff. Going on the road and winning at Arizona, that was a handy margin of victory. Then you got Bowling Green, and then it was an impressive defensive showing against Texas A&M last week. So, I mean, they're a very legit team, and they have good special teams.
Yeah, State's also, I was looking at their percentages here in the note package. They run the ball about a third of a time, which is really up for Mike Leach team, and that's something. And now I think they were playing from the lead last week, obviously against A&M, and that skews the numbers a bit. But this is a team that statistically, Tom, is at least running the ball more than a Mike Leach team has in the past.
That's right, and I think they understand that as they improve as a program, if there's some leads they have late in games, you don't necessarily want to throw incomplete passes late in the game and kill clock for your opponent, and so you've got to be able to run it. And that's, like I said, I like Marks and Johnson. They're 2 top backs. They probably ran it a good bit in the Bowling Green game. I mean, it has to be important for them and you have to have some semblance of balance, even though parts of their pass game are like runs, extended run plays with those little swing passes and stuff.
Little dinky.
So Arkansas's got to defend the whole schmear in this game.
To put it in perspective, though, they're still getting 93 yards a game. So, I mean, on the ground. So let's not act like this is Alabama, because they're not. But they are just, for a Mike Leach team, doing a little bit more with it, Ty.
Yeah, they are, and they've got a good scheme. And I think on the other side of the ball, KJ or whoever's at quarterback, they have got to be really, really in sync with their wideouts on hot reads, what the routes are going to be, how they're going to cut things off, back shoulder throws, turn routes into slants or whatever, because Zach Arnett is running a lot of blitzes and sometimes some total blitzes where they're sending more guys than you can block, and you have to go to the hot route. So it's going to be incumbent on them this week to really hone in on what are my reads and where do I go with the ball, and get a sense for where the pressure's coming and what your relief valves are.
Tom, if KJ Jefferson can't go, how do you think Saturday is going to shake out with the quarterback situation of Cade Fortin and Malik Hornsby?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I do believe that KJ, when you look at the hit or his helmet hitting the ground, it wasn't that violent. I don't know his complete background on concussion-type injuries, and so I do believe it's going to be wait and see through the week. Now, on the other two guys, I think it would be very, very wise, all the stuff you've had from Malik Hornsby, that you practice it well this week. So you can give them different. You can give them the drop back. You can roll out some with Fortin and Hornsby, but don't forget, when Hornsby was in at quarterback in various games, he got to the edge against Penn State when they were a tired defense, and he just ran by him. And if they block things up and they can get Hornsby on the edge, there's a chance they can move the ball. And so I think there'll be good packages for both those guys, because while KJ's in his situation, those guys have got to get reps. And so it's important to have some diversity in what you do to make Mississippi State have to adjust in game.
Tom, what should Arkansas fans know about Cade Fortin?
Well, apparently he won the second team job several weeks ago, and we've seen him run second team on some of their fastball starts. His numbers before he got to Arkansas were basically 50% completions. I don't know the deep background on what teams he played against at North Carolina, but he had several games. I think it was his freshman year at North Carolina, and then he played in games at South Florida as well. So I'm going to do a deeper dive into the teams he actually accrued those numbers against. But, higher INTs than TDs at this point in his career. But they've liked him since he got in there. He's done well in 2-minute drives, and I don't think it's going to be like just total scramble mode. You saw his second series against Alabama. No matter who was in there on defense, they were good. He moved the ball. They went 40-something yards, and I think if Jaden Hazelwood cuts up that last fourth down, they probably convert there, and they're in goal to go. So, I think he would be a capable guy. He's just going to have to deal with, if he plays, he's going to have to deal with a lot of this blitzing pressure and the crowd noise, and sometimes that can rattle a quarterback.
So what's your reporter's intuition tell you about KJ and the situation and who plays this Saturday to start the game for Arkansas?
It's really what Sam Pittman said. It's wait and see. He didn't say it, but he hit his head, and as Sam Pittman said yesterday, he has symptoms. Okay, so that means you just get tested, right, every day during the week, and if you meet them, then you can be cleared. If you don't, I just think right now everybody's going to be on basically high alert because of the very recent Tua situation, and you want your players to be, fully, ready to go. We know it's a violent sport. When I played, I probably had 2 concussions, and that was back when we didn't know what they were. Got knocked out one time at Rising, and it's all about back then it was, how tough are you? Go back in there. You just got your bell rung. Well, now they know that's not the way you do it.
Yeah.
And so I think they'll just be judicious. It's one game, and KJ Jefferson's health is a lot more important than one game.
Absolutely. But, if he has the symptoms as Coach laid out yesterday, can he practice? If he can't practice, what's this offense practicing on without KJ there? I would think the offense would look, not completely different, but somewhat different. They're not going to run as much of the RPO, I would think. So where does that leave your team in preparation for a game Saturday? I don't believe KJ couldn't play the game without practicing all week, but what's that do for your offense heading into a game if you practice one set of plays and one quarterback and one style all week and you do something different on Saturday? It makes me wonder what's the week leading up going to look like if you are able to play KJ on Saturday.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, Tommy. And as Sam said yesterday, Wednesday's the cutoff day. And I don't know if we'll hear if he practices Wednesday or not. Wednesday is a close practice to the media. And so, we'll just have to see. I don't think the RPO game is completely out of the question if Cade Fortin is the quarterback, because he had a nice run last week and he has decent running numbers. So, there are tailored things for each of those three quarterbacks. And these are smart coaches. They're going to scheme up Mississippi State, and they're going to give their players a chance to have a chance for success, whoever's in the game.
But none of us are going to believe that if KJ can't practice by Wednesday, but he's able to play on Saturday, he's not playing, right? None of us believe that, right?
Yeah, I think, let's just say he's cleared on, say, a Thursday. First of all, how does he feel? What does he think? That's the important thing, and then you make your decision there. But we know he's a gamer. I mean, look, KJ's had a couple of ball security things this year, but think of where Arkansas football would be. I mean, they went 9-4 last year largely because of him.
Mm-hmm.
So, great kid. I hope he's feeling good.
Tom, we'll leave it there, man. Get some more insight on Mississippi State on Thursday, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, sounds good. See y'all.
All right, Tom Murphy with us here every Tuesday and Thursday on the Morning Rush.
Football is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all your football betting needs this season. You'll find the latest odds, matchup info, player news, and game trends. And as your continued source for all sports wagering info, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, live scores, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports and events like MLB, MMA, tennis, boxing, and even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 100% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. Bet online, where the game starts.